Obsession is the best movie to come out this year, and I don't think I'm that crazy for saying that, because this movie took the world by storm, and it was made by a guy that used to make YouTube comedy sketches on YouTube and mini horror movies. Cory Barker was given a $750,000 budget and was told to go make something, and he was able to go out there and beat out a Star Wars movie in theaters. Do you understand how crazy that is? And I'm happy to see that, because the guy that made Backrooms also used to be a former YouTuber, and that movie has also done well. So I love to see that. I love to see them to break the mold and to do something different out there. Now that enough time has passed for the people to watch this movie, I think it's time for me to cover it. So enough of the yap, let's hop right into it. We start this movie off with our main character Bear confessing his feelings to a girl, and this moment already let me know what type of movie I was getting myself into, because when he was sat there confessing his feelings and that music came in, I already knew that this movie was different. Also, Bear as a main character is like watching Belrizi play a choice-based game and make the wrong choices every time. That wasn't even the actual girl that Bear liked, that was just a random person helping him out. And this is Ian, the so-called friend of Bear, and I say that too because he also does some things where I'm kind of like I don't know, man, like, are you really my friend or not? Because he gives bad advice to him on how to talk to this girl that he likes. Her name is Nikki, and so his idea is to call her Freaky Nikki, something that she used to be called and she does not like, and he's like, oh well, it'll be cute, she'll be like, oh, I used to be called that in high school when I used to get railed by 10 guys in the school bathroom, but don't call me that. He thinks that's how that's gonna go. Ian also says, you got time, you don't have to force up a shot, we got all the time in the world, take your time with it. Then it cuts to a dead cat on the floor. Looks like the cat got into some pills. Bear cleans it up, he has a quick little cry, then goes to stalking Nikki's page on Instagram, living a real sad life right now. But it's looking up because Nikki starts calling. She's calling to see if Bear wants to come out tonight, and Bear is kind of taking Ian's advice and keeping his distance and taking his time with everything. And the problem with that though is that Nikki has something important to tell him, and that is her putting in her 2 weeks notice, meaning that this man does not have a lot of time to be messing around with if he wants to tell her how he feels. Bear does a complete 180 and says yes to coming out, and so as he says that, Nikki drops her necklace down the drain, so it gives Bear an idea to go out and get her a nice little present before she possibly leaves, or to use to butter her up to ask her out or whatnot. So he's looking around looking for necklaces. Nothing really fits the vibe for Nikki until he sees something into the distance, a One Wish willow. The One Wish willow is the whole driving force for this movie. Now Cory Barker explained that this One Wish willow is as simple as a wish. It is not inherently evil, it just depends on the wish that you make. Bear goes to buy the One Wish willow, and the worker sees that, and the worker's like, oh, you're getting this, I hope you don't come back and complain later on about this. Bear is confused by this because he's like, wait, what do you mean by complaining? Have people complained about it ruining their lives or something? And she's like, yeah, and people wanting to die too, wishing that they were dead. Yeah, no. Now we see Bear out with his friends, and he's trying to read the situation right now and tried to read the court. He looks over to Ian and asks for an ISO. So you would think in this situation, the good friend that Ian should be in this situation to help give him the ISO or to set the screen on the defender or whatever to set him up for the shot, he doesn't do it at all. He actually kind of doesn't pass the ball. He kind of actually just tells him, hey, no. And so Nikki and the other two kind of see what's going on, and they're like, what the hell is up with y'all two? Nikki says she's gonna get more shots, and Bear says he'll come with. And so the two are actually at the bar, and they're actually having a good time talking to each other, having fun. You actually see a little bit of the chemistry, which is a bit surprising. I thought this man would have been a little bit worse when it came to talking to girls, especially girls that he liked. But he's actually pretty cool at it. Bear is trying to tell Nikki that he got something for her after she lost her necklace, but he can't say it because everybody is playing pristine defense on him. The rotation's insane. Ian come over help side for whatever reason. Like, look at him. He knows exactly what he's doing and the type of defense he's playing. Even Sarah comes and joins the party. So they leave the bar, and Ian wants to go out and do some karaoke. Nikki just wants to go home. She doesn't really want to do any of that, and I don't really blame her. Staying out till 6 a.m. drinking and partying, it ain't really for me neither. I don't blame you on that. Nikki and Bear lock eyes with each other, and Nikki does this little flirtatious look at Bear, and of course Bear kind of thinks that, oh, she might be into me, when in reality it's just friends flirting with each other. Now there's nothing harmful about it, it just depends on who you do it to, because there are going to be people like Bear who genuinely think that you are into them. So that little thing gives Bear the confidence to tell Nikki that he'll take her home, and the reaction from everybody else is kind of interesting to me, because when you look at Sarah, who, I'm gonna be honest with you, from the moment I saw her I could tell that she was into Bear, she kind of looks a little saddened at the fact that Bear is leaving and not going out with them. On the other side of the spectrum, Ian says get your girl home safe. So upon hearing that, what is the worst thing that a girl could say in response to that? I would say ew is probably one of them, because Nikki says ew. Don't say it like that, man. If a girl I liked ever said ew, that can't be us, never. Like, no, ew. Like, bro, stop. It ain't that serious. Like, am I really that disgusting? disgusting to be with? Like, really? Like, am I that bad? Nikki and Bear are on their way back, and they're both talking to each other, and we find out the reason why Nikki is leaving is because she wants a big life change, because she wants to become a writer, and the only way to get that is if something does happen, because she wants to write a love story. Nikki shows appreciation towards Bear because Bear is the only person she can talk to about these things, and Bear says the same thing back to her. He also says that he got her something. Nikki's response to this is, ew, why does that make me nervous? Like, why is that your response to everything? And you know what? People genuinely believe that Nikki liked Bear, and people were upset that Bear didn't take his opportunity to ask her out, in which, yes, he probably should have shot his shot and he didn't. That sucks. But my thing is the signs that she is giving him. I promise you, any man that looked at that, you would have thought that this girl would have not have liked you. But even then, before, she was giving me the eyes. Oh wow, like, oh, she kind of liked me. Like, bro, like, I don't know, I'm in the middle with this. And at the end of that conversation, she even says, oh, no guy would never know that I would like them. Never. It would be impossible to know. I think the main reason why people think Nikki liked Bear was because she kept leaving the door open for him, when I just didn't think that was the case at all. Because while Bear is over here quivering at the sight of a basket trying to attempt a shot, he then takes an ill-advised shot, calling her Freaky Nikki. Bear picked the wrong choice here. I don't know why you would call her Freaky Nikki when you know for a fact that she doesn't like it. She asks, why did you call me that? And then she walks back to the car and asks the question, do you like me? Okay, I agree. I do think Bear probably should have told her that he liked her. But I look at this and I'm like, bro, I think she's just trying to swat that thing out the way. Like, I ain't gonna lie. I think she's about to pin his shot off the backboard. Bear says, nah, I think we're just friends and all that, and basically friend zoned himself. That's cool. You know, that's great. Nikki's like, oh, okay, you know, that's cool. She walks off. Bear, upset at the fact that he had to say that because he knows that he missed his chance. He pulls out the Make-A-Wish willow from his bag out of anger, and he makes a wish. He wishes that Nikki loved him more than anyone else in the world. Let me say it again. He wishes Nikki to love him more than anyone else in the entire world. Listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth. That is the reason why that what you're about to see is about to flip everything else upside down, because the way that he worded this wish and the intensity of the words that he put into this wish is going to be the downfall of this man. From here on out, you will see the real Bear, and you will see that he is the actual villain of this entire movie. After making the wish, Bear sees that Nikki is just standing outside on the porch looking at him menacingly. She then walks up to the car with a whole different demeanor. Like, everything has changed. She's talking softer. She's asking, oh, do you want to come inside or not? And then she says something weird after that. She says, well, my cat did just die. And that's weird because my cat just died. That's really weird. I mean, that's almost as if you're trying to get me into your house for no reason. Bear is just freaked out by the situation. He even looks at the one wish will to think, oh wait, did it actually work? Did something happen? And he's like, nah, Nikki's just drunk. And Nikki responds with, no, I'm not drunk. And then a personality switch happens just for like a split second. She's wondering what the hell is going on, but then it switches right back. She then walks around the car to then open up this man's door to then try to take the seatbelt off to get him out of the car. And this whole scene was just really, really weird. Like, everything just made me feel uncomfortable. And I usually don't get scared with horror movies at all, but this is the one movie where I genuinely felt a sense of fear because of how uncomfortable everything was. And I do think that with new modern horror movies, you have to make the viewer feel uncomfortable to make them scared. Nikki gets into the car and Bear says we can just continue this tomorrow. And Nikki has the same reaction when I asked my teammates to swap off a character in Rivals after going 0-12, and she says I can't do that. She doesn't want to be alone right now. She also drops the fact that her father is dying. So now Bear doesn't even know what to do in this situation. So now he just has no choice but to take her home with him. They get back to Bear's place, and I know you see it too. This man has a bottle of Jergens right next to his laptop. It ain't like a regular size Jergens bottle either. This man has a BBL size Jergens right there. This man has to at least be doing it 3 to 4 times a day. They're getting ready to get some sleep, and Nikki is sorry about what happened earlier and how she was acting. Bear is like, oh, it's okay. And then he's about to leave, right? He doesn't leave because now Nikki is telling him to stay, but she wants him to sleep with him. Taken aback by the offer, but he takes it. Nikki starts taking off her shirt. Bear's taken aback by this even more. He takes off his shoes and he gets in the bed, where you get to see the soles of his feet piercing through these socks because that's how dirty his socks are. She then gets up and looks at Bear and says, hey, I'm sorry about your cat. Bear is still very reeling from this situation because he doesn't believe that it's real that a girl is actually in his room right now. Nikki starts to rub up all upon him, engaging. They look at each other sensually. Then Nikki goes closer and closer and grabs him and starts necking him, and they go nuts. Then she saw the new Avengers Doomsday poster. Nikki gets up and says like, are you okay? Like, are you good? I'm sorry for like randomly screaming at your face. Like, I'm just so sorry. You were just so ugly. And then another change of emotions out of nowhere, she just starts crying. Okay, at this point, we know that that's not Nikki anymore. That is something else entirely different. Now, a lot of people like to think that it's a possession and something is taking control of her, something demonic. Now, I don't really like that idea. I feel like that's very cliche, very standard, especially for a movie like this. I personally like to think of it as it's just a wish. And I like that idea a lot more than something taking control of her, because I'll elaborate more on that later as to why I think that. Bear is looking up the One Wish Willow. So here you can already see that he has suspicions with the One Wish Willow and how it possibly could have affected something, but he doesn't really know for sure. But I want you to keep that in mind, because even after seeing what this version of Nikki is doing right now, he still doesn't really like believe it. But then later on, I don't know, bro, because again, Bear does some things in this movie that I genuinely like. You will be so disappointed in what he does, if not downright deplorable in some actions. Bear heads back to the room and he sees that Nikki's up right now in this dimly lit room where you can barely see her face. And they do that a lot in this movie, where you just don't see her face at all, and it's really unsettling. I don't like that. What is going on? She asked Bear what he's doing, and he was like, oh, I went to the bathroom. Lies, deception, right? And obviously she's just sat here like, oh, well, can you just lay down with me? And so of course Bear does that. You know, he lays down with her. It's the next morning and Bear wakes up. Nikki's not there, so he goes to look for her, and he sees that breakfast is made for him. You know, you got some orange juice, some sausage, bread, eggs. You know, it looks good, right? And she also did something really nice for him. She unburied his dead cat to have a memorial and just put it right in the kitchen. Nikki walks in and is like, oh no, you're supposed to like it. Like, I don't know if I would like my dead cat, you know, being unburied and being technically grave robbed in some way. I just don't know how I feel about that. Bear and Nikki show up to work, and Bear goes to Ian instantly just to talk to him about how crazy Nikki has been acting lately. And Ian doesn't really understand what's going on and all that. And throughout this entire scene, Nikki is just in the background just staring at them too. It's freaking me out, bro. Guys, I can't, dude. We see you. Stop it. Bear tells Ian that Nikki's father has cancer. Ian is a little surprised by this because he knows that Nikki doesn't really have a relationship with her father. So one, we know she's lying. Two, how does Ian know this but Bear doesn't? Like, if I'm Bear and Nikki just told me that, oh, she can talk to me about certain things and all that other stuff, why has she never told me about her father? Because now it just looks like this is just Bear's first time hearing about this. Ian thinks that Nikki's just on Molly again, and he'll go talk to her. He'll even bring her back home with him as well. Then we see Nikki walk past the window and knock on the door. So Bear goes to the door and sees Nikki, and she's in this beautiful dress. One, her eyes in the scene look crazy. Two, we don't see her face again. A little weird. But three, Indy Navarrete, she's fine. Like, look at the eyes she's giving this man. Nikki confesses her feelings to Bear, and Bear has a second chance. And this time he takes the shot. After an edit of them love slopping each other and their friends clearly hating on their relationship, we see them at a restaurant. And this scene is the first time and probably the only time in the entire movie where it was normal. It made me almost forget that I have brown stains in my pants from all the nervousness that I've had to experience watching this movie. Oh, while we're here with the only normal scene of the entire movie, I might as well talk about the aesthetic of this movie. I love how the movie feels very 80s, and I love the music too because it just enhances that feeling. But there was just so many times where I just rewinded the movie just so that I can listen to the music. Like, it just sounds so good. The movie feels really small and cozy, which makes sense. I mean, it is only a movie with a $750,000 budget. Bear's phone is blowing up. It's Ian. So Bear picks up the phone, and Ian has something important to tell him. It's about Nikki's father. Her father actually doesn't have cancer at all, and he's not even at the hospital that she told him about. He also says that Sarah and Nikki had a conversation about Bear and how Nikki only saw him as a brother. There we go. We got confirmation that Nikki didn't even look at him as a potential boyfriend at all. Like, not even close. Only saw him as a brother. As he's being told this information, Bear is automatically thinking about the One Wish Willow. And so at this point, he already knows that the One Wish Willow did something. He knows the suspicions are true to him. He knows what's wrong, and he sees all the crazy things that this version of Nikki is doing, but he's still denying it. He double downs on stuff that he already knows by going back to the table and asking her, do you love me more than anyone else in the world? And she basically says bar for bar on what he said in his wish. Bear finally questions something and asks her, hey, does your father actually have cancer? And she just starts freaking out. I've seen this clip so many times that I've been stimming everything. Like, I've been like, no, now, we're having a nice day. Okay, let's just get to the next scene. Bear's, getting some, yeah, I'm not really gonna talk about that. I can't. But he wakes up and he knows that Nikki is gone again. Or sees, I said knows. He sees that Nikki's gone again, okay? You look around the room, you seeing stuff. And because the way that this movie is lit, you don't really see anything until you kind of see an outline of something in the corner of the room. It's almost as if like when you wake up at night and there's like a pile of clothes on your chair or it's being hanged up somewhere and you confuse it for like a demon or something. That's what this reminds me of, because Nikki is just sitting in the corner watching this man sleep. She even tells him, go back to sleep. She steps out the shadows and starts tiptoeing towards him. And she's like, oh, I like watching you sleep. And then Bear is just telling her like, just come back to sleep. And she goes right back into her corner. Then out of nowhere, Nikki just starts crying and starts having this wail. And it's so disgusting. I'm sorry. Even right now, as I'm talking about this and I'm watching the footage right in front of me, whatever she's doing, what Indy Never is doing, stop it, please. You're great at what you do. Great acting. But please don't do this again. Like, I have a visible frown on my face watching this scene. And every guy's worst nightmare is when your girl randomly comes up with these scenarios and starts asking you questions like, do you even love me anymore? Because I feel like you don't really care about me as much as you say you do. And they'll say all that after you just worked a 9 to 5 and you just look at them like this. Nikki tells Bear to go back to sleep, and you ain't gotta tell me twice. Some more freaky stuff happens. She's, screaming and crab walking across the room. But, overall, it's pretty tame, I guess. Another morning where Bear wakes up and something is amiss. He walks into the bathroom and looks into the mirror, and he sees that his hair was cut. So he goes to Nikki and asks, did you cut my hair? And she says, yes, I cut your hair. I thought you needed it for real. If I'm being honest, if you cut my hair in my sleep and I wake up and my hairline is pushed back, I'm letting you know I'm drop kicking you. Bear is concerned at what's been going on, and so he asks Nikki, can you just stop doing all that stuff and stop being weird? And she's like, oh yeah, like that's cool, I can do that. And then she tries to put on a smile, and it's just but they laugh it off, right? So Bear's gonna go to work, and he is freaked out because he's looking at something, and it's the door. Nikki duct taped the door for whatever reason, mind you. I don't know what we know why she duct taped it, but like, how much time and effort did you have to put in to duct tape all of this? And then as Bear is like trying to open the door, Nikki is like, oh, I guess you'll just have to stay now and don't have to go into work. Like, no, I got it. I don't really want to miss work. I got to pay the bills, right? See you later, honey. Bear leaves, and we see Nikki just standing there smiling at the door. Looks like she's gonna wait for him to come back. She starts peeing on herself. Yeah, cool. Great. We see Bear at his job, and he's about to eat lunch, and there's two pictures, and there's one that says I love you, but one of them is supposed to say that, but it doesn't. It just says not me. So I would probably assume that that's the real Nikki. I mean, come on, like, why hide it? Like, we already know, right? Sarah asked if Bear is coming to Ian's party tonight, and he didn't even really know that was even a thing, and that was probably because you were held hostage, things of that nature, right? Bear also confronts Sarah about the Nikki friend zoning him thing, and she doesn't really even care about that. She's just more concerned about what's going on, and she kind of feels that Nikki is kind of using him in some way, because there's just no way that y'all start dating all of a sudden after she just said that y'all were just friends and only saw him as a brother. She was also about to say something about Ian because Ian was spreading her stuff around, so she was about to give us some tea too. But before she can, her father tells her that something's in the mail, and she comes back a little disappointed after opening it, and it's just because she was applying to become a tattoo artist and she didn't get in. But this scene between her and Bear is really good. Like, it's actually also one of the only other normal moments in the entire movie. I may have lied about the restaurant scene being one of the only sort of normal moments in the entire movie, because it kind of just shows that Bear could have had a normal relationship with Sarah if he had not been so obsessed with Nikki. See what I did there? Because the movie's obsession, and like, he was obsessed with Nikki, yeah. Sarah takes the note playfully, and she reads the note, and she says, what's the verdict on Cat? The sandwich that man Bear is eating, it's not a normal sandwich. Nikki used his dead cat as sandwich meat. I'm struggling to find words because I'm not scripting this video. I'm kind of just sat here trying to figure out what to say, and I'm just kind of stunned. Even again, as I'm watching this, I'm just like, yeah, Bear, I don't know what else to show you, buddy. Like, you're seeing it right there. He's finished with work and he's about to leave, but then Ian is asking him, hey, can you like take me home, because he doesn't have his car with him. So they're in the car together, pretty awkward, Ian asks about Nikki and the things that is going on with her and stuff like that, and how weird everything is, and he even thinks that possibly, maybe, that Bear is taking advantage advantage of her, and in some ways he's not wrong. Bear doesn't think that's the case at all, and Ian's like, bet, I got you, so I'll invite you to the party, but you can't come with Nikki. If it's a healthy relationship that doesn't revolve around codependency, then everything will be fine. Bear is parked outside of his house, and he's in his car trying to prep himself to go talk to Nikki, because he's gonna try to ask if he can go out with the boys tonight. But he's sitting here like, Nikki, you can't cook the cat. Okay, like we don't do that. No. And I feel like what's been going on lately is a little bit too much for me, and I feel like I need some space. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do it. I'm doing it now, and you can't come. He's prepared and he's ready to go. He picks up his bag, but he hears like that little toy that came out of like the One Wish Willow, and he sees the box, and he sees that there's a number on the box. He then calls it. Someone actually picks up and he says, "Is this the One Wish Willow?" And this guy is talking to him, you know, very low monotone voice. This is actually Curry Barker that did this voice as well, which is pretty cool. He's asking if the wish can be altered. This right here was, for me personally, the moment that I realized Bear is not that good of a person, because why is the first thing you say is to alter a wish, not to reverse it back, not to go back to the way it was? Your first thing was to, can you just tweak it just a little bit, right? You know, I want her to still want me, but just tweak it, you know what I'm saying? Just tone it back a little bit. The guy says he can't alter the wish. So then Bear asks, well, is the love from her actually real? And he's like, well, it's as real as you make it out to be. So Bear is just like, all right, fine. I'll just cancel it. He can't even do that either. He lied to you. He was just playing with you, brother. The guy says that the wish will last as long as he lives, basically saying that, hey, buddy, you must die if you want things to go back to the way that they were. The guy on the phone then says, do you want to talk to Nikki? Then we hear Nikki on the phone screaming, and it sounds like she's getting demonic back shots right now. Bear enters the house and sees Nikki, and she looks disgusting. It looks like she actually stood there for hours waiting for him. It looks like she threw up on herself and other bodily liquids that's just attached to her. I don't know. She goes to take a shower, and Bear is just trying to tell her, hey, you cannot cook my cat, please. I just don't find that really appealing for my diet. Bear tells Nikki that he's gonna go out for a boys' night out, but Nikki doesn't really like that idea. She starts hitting that one Ichigo scream, and that's because she knows that Sarah is gonna be there. So it looks like Bear doesn't really have a choice, so he brings her anyway. All right, so everyone's enjoying their time, drinking, vibing, just having a good time, right? So they're at this table playing a game with some Jenga blocks, and these Jenga blocks have things on them where whatever Jenga block that you pick, you have to do whatever it says on it. So this one guy picks it up and it says, hey, you have to switch places with someone. He switches places with Bear to sit next to Nikki. Bad choice, my brother. I would very much move. And you know, he makes a joke saying like, man, what spell did you put on her? And Nikki just starts laughing really hard, like a little too hard. Like the joke wasn't that funny. It's like when I'm laughing at a joke from a girl that I like, even though I know the joke isn't funny, I'm just laughing just so that I can get her to like me. Now the whole vibe is off. Everybody's sitting there silently. It's awkward, and Ian turned his head towards Bear, and Bear is like, my bad, gang, I know that this is my fault. This is on me, bro. This is on me. It's Nikki's turn, and the one that she got is where she has to tell a story. Now this story is about Hansel and Gretel, and it's a different version. It is a whole new chapter that I didn't know it came out, and it's weird. So weird, in fact, that I'm actually gonna say bar for what she said. And all I want y'all to do is just sit back and relax and just close your eyes and just imagine about what I'm about to say to you. There was charged by a distinct call of the night bird. His face was obscured, but I knew he was only looking at my chest, each side stretching, recently matured to different sizes. And so, come lie with me, like the old woman taught us, like we were children. He closed the door and leaned against it. You're not my wife, Gretel. I'm more than your wife. I'm your sister. And flinched and reached for the door handle. I knew he would not leave this place. He would relent and choose to be inside me like many nights before. If not, I would fillet his meaty forearm and roll it like a stick of licorice and insert the flesh in between my legs. Hansel is my soul. Only a love of a willow tree could conjure up. Brother, you will be inside me tonight. I'm so sorry that your ears had to listen to that. If the vibes weren't already ruined, it's gonna be ruined with this one, because it's Bear's turn now, and he picks the one where he has to kiss the person on his left. And it's Sarah, and she looks petrified at the thought of what's about to happen to her, because Nikki gets up and has this crazy frown. I don't know how Indy does this frown, or how she even figured out she could do this in the first place. Nikki walks around around behind Sarah's chair, still with the frown on her face. She then grabs the chair and pulls her back to then get the kiss from Bear. She then stands up and says, no one will ever understand the love that me and Bear have. And everyone is just looking at her like, yeah, all right, you got it, bro. We will never understand. This movie does really well with these type of moments where you just kind of just sit there and kind of just have to like fester in your uncomfortableness, I guess you could say, because there's just something about her doing all of this and looking at Bear, and he just looks like a hostage in this situation. They don't even know what to do. Like, they don't even know what to say because it's just so uncomfortable. Everyone is just sitting there quietly for a moment until real Nikki actually takes back control, and then she says, she's got me, and then she grabs a glass bottle, breaks it, and smashes over her face. Can't show that, but you probably know what that looks like. Everyone is freaked out. Everyone's screaming. Ian is screaming at Bear like, yo, Bear, get up, like do something, bro, like your girl over here smashing her head in. And Bear's just sitting there like, nah, bro, like just shh, let her keep going, bro. Like I'm almost free. Just close your eyes and let it happen. Bear leaves the party trying to get her to a hospital, and it looks like the hospital is not taking her in for some reason. We see them sitting at this table, and Nikki comes up to him and says, I'm sorry. And Bear is just kind of tired of hearing I'm sorry, and he's like, bro, like you just did all of this crazy stuff at this party, and you know what I'm saying, like you making me look bad. Bear tries to go into the bathroom, and Nikki's like, where are you going? And he's like, I'm just trying to go to the bathroom, nothing crazy. And her response to that is like, can I hold it? Sorry. No. She just wants to stand outside. Bear is crashing out because everything was normal and he wants everything to go back to the way that they were. And we know that's a lie because you tried altering the wish instead of trying to revert it back. Even if you couldn't do it, the fact that that was your first option lets me know everything I need to know about you. Bear asks, is Nikki happy? And she responds with, yeah, I'm your freaking Nikki. And Bear's like, nah, I'm done. I need space from you. I need space. And Nikki is crying and she is trying her hardest to love her. And this whole scene is really sad to me for some reason. I was not scared at all. I was more just sad at what I was watching because Wish Nikki, that's what I'm gonna call her. I should have been calling her that from the start, but yeah, Wish Nikki genuinely feels like she is burdened to love Bear, and it's almost as if she's like self-aware of that and she can't help it, and it's almost like torture for her as well. And the sad thing is, Bear is still trying to tell her to be Nikki. In some ways, you are asking Wish Nikki to change back to the original Nikki, and I feel like at that point when you're asking someone to change because you love them, quote unquote, that's not love. That is not love at all. That's control. You are trying to conform someone into something that they're not. It's really sad when Wish Nikki screams at him and she instantly apologizes, and Bear is starting to realize that this isn't real, even though it's the last 20 minutes of the movie for him to realize that. And Wish Nikki said something so simple, but it hit me really hard for some reason, and it was when she said, I love you in every reality, Bear. And it was so simple, but I really felt that. Like, you could genuinely tell that, like, she loves him. Bear says, I love you back, and that triggers something in Nikki. She gets up and starts hitting a reverse, you know, that reverse back in like what, like 2016, when people start doing the hey. Bear is scared, and Nikki's like, no, don't be scared, baby, don't be scared, and then hits him with a pump fake. Bear tries suggesting that he'll go over to Ian's for the night, and Nikki's like, okay, as she goes to the kitchen and grabs a knife and proceeds to say the longest I will off myself ever. She's also like, well, you can just stay, and Bear of course does. So we see them sleeping together, and we're finally at this scene. This is where a lot of people started to realize that Bear is just not a good person at all, and he's the real villain of this movie. Bear gets a text from Sarah, and she has something important to tell him, so Bear is a little conflicted on what to do, but he ultimately decides to go. Bear is about to leave the room until Nikki calls out to him, but it's not Wish Nikki, it's real Nikki. She actually was able to get control while Wish Nikki is sleeping. Real Nikki asks one thing from this man Bear, and that is to kill her. And you know what the response to that was? It wasn't, oh, okay, I'll help you, or, you know, consider it, or to find another solution. No, his response to that was, what's so bad about being with me? Bro, are you serious right now? You've never been with her. Even real Nikki says that. And right here, this is when people just knew that Bear was nothing. He was genuinely a coward. He was a despicable human being that genuinely needed to die. A lot of people was rooting for him to die. I ain't gonna lie. To be fair with y'all, I understand why. Because there have been so many times where Bear has seen this. He has seen what Wish Nikki has done and has glossed over it. He is so cowardly, such a despicable human being that he won't even attempt at trying to find a solution solution that would help real Nikki out. Bear is so desperate for love and affection that he is willing to have real Nikki be stuck in the sunken place while Wish Nikki controls her body. And there's so many examples of him just being fine with it. Like, bro, he was fine with the fact that, oh, my door got duct taped shut. That's okay. He was fine with his cat being dug up and being fed to him, and just what? He was fine with so many things that as long as Wish Nikki acted like real Nikki, he wouldn't have cared. He only cares now because it's actually dangerous to have Wish Nikki around. Y'all remember earlier when I said that I had my own thoughts about the wish and what I think what really is the wish? It's just a wish, and it's as simple as that. And I like that so much more, and the reason why is because it does not give Bear an excuse for his actions. I feel like if it was a demonic possessioning, we'd have been like, well, it was a demon or whatever, and like, yeah, we still would have blamed Bear, but I feel like here we feel the weight of his actions way more because it was him that made the wish. It was nothing else, no outside forces, no nothing. It was him. And I also like the idea that this version of Nikki, the Wish Nikki, is a version of Nikki that he is fantasized about. It's the version that he's always wanted, and he's finally got it. But guess what now? You have the responsibility to deal with this now, and he does not want that. Even the guy on the phone says you have a moral obligation to be there for her now. And the idea of Bear is a sad one to me because it's very personal for me. Now, I'm not sad for the character, not even the slightest, but I'm sad at the fact that there are people like him that have trouble connecting with people and feeling loved. That to me is personal because I understand. So there are times in the movie where I do feel bad for him, but it's not like I'm feeling bad for him. I'm feeling bad for the idea of him. After leaving Nikki out to dry, Bear meets up with Sarah, and Sarah is telling him that, oh, she finally got the letter from the school and wants to open it up with him. But she has something to tell him about Nikki and Ian. Nikki and Ian were clapping cheeks on the side, which is pretty obvious because when that montage was going on, he was looking real nasty at the both of them. He was giving bad advice to Bear. He was always intervening Bear when he tried to take a shot. Overall, just not that good of a friend. Sarah also suggests that, you know, he needs someone more chill. Bear responds with, oh, so like you. Bear, don't do that. No. Your time is up. You're done. What comes next, I can't show. Nikki comes through the window and grabs Sarah by her head and starts smashing her face into a brick over and over and over again. And by the end of it, her eyeball is popping out. Her face is caved in. One of her teeth is like where her cheek is supposed to be. It's pretty bad. And when it's all said and done, Nikki's like, oh, it's all your fault, Bear, and you wished for this, and you know, it'll be okay. And Bear, not going to the police, not running away, not doing nothing, he decides to help her with the body. So now he's by himself in this car with Sarah's letter, and she got accepted into the school, and he starts screaming. And brother, I don't know what you want me to do, bro. Like, this is your fault. You did this. So his only other option is to go back to that store where he got the One Wish Willow. So he's looking for it, and he can't find them. So he goes to the cashier, right? And the cashier's like, oh, like, you know, we ran out, right? But he's only joking with him. He's only messing with him. The One Wish Willows are still there. And he's like, well, why are you selling these things? He's like, hey, bro, like, you know, you don't have to buy it again to make the wish. And he asked him, can I make a new wish? Can I do something like that? Can I revert it? And he's like, no, you can't do that. And he basically tells him, like, well, there is one possible way. You can get someone else that hasn't made a wish yet to make a wish that you didn't make a wish, or you could die. Bear takes the rest of the One Wish Willows, and after being said that he can't make another wish and he can only make one, he still tries to make a wish, and he can't break the stick to make the wish. So he goes to one person that he knows, and that's Ian. Bear is knocking and banging on the door. Ian answers, and he sees that Bear is covered in blood, and he asks if Nikki's okay, and Bear's like, yeah, she's fine, and he needs him to do something for him. Bear tells him that all of this isn't real and all of this was just because of a wish. Ian, of course, doesn't believe him, so Bear has to try to, you know, explain it to him how this works and try to make him believe. And he tells him how it works and how he needs to be the one to make a wish that this never happened. And it was actually a pretty good plan. It was a good idea. He even said that he has to say it the exact same way. So Bear actually understood that, all right, the exact wording does kind of matter now. Ian takes it out the box and looks at Ian, and instead of listening to him, he just decides, you know what, I wish for $1 billion. With that not working, Bear only has one more idea on what he can do, and that's to go back to Wish Nikki and have her make a wish. Bear is back at his place, and he sees like this shrine, and Bear, there's a smooth criminal behind you. Bear sees the body of Sarah, and Nikki is like right behind him, and she looks exactly like Sarah. She's crashing out, throwing brick at her face, whatever, I don't know, bro, it's just too much going on. And then you have Ian that's outside the door knocking on the door, and he's like, hey Bear, guess what, bro, like there's $1 billion, bro, it's real, it's real. Ian, it is not the time for this. Ian, do you not hear this? Bear falls down to the couch and, you know, Nikki is screaming at him, you know, Ian busts through the door and Nikki boomed him in an instant without a second thought. Nikki's screaming at Bear. Bear is just there taking it. He's getting thrown up on, and Bear finally says, I love you, just so that she can stop. She lays on him and she's like, oh, yeah, okay, it's okay. Bear tries to get up to go to the bathroom, and Nikki's not happy with that. She's currently banging on the door, and Bear is just considering a lot of possibilities right now. He is looking into a mirror. He sees that he has a gun, and yeah, he has those thoughts. He tries to do it, but he doesn't do it. He doesn't go through with it. So he goes to the cabinet and he sees the same pills that his cat overdosed on. He takes the pills, he sits on the toilet, and he starts munching away. The music in this scene was really good, I ain't gonna lie. I think this song in this scene is probably the second best song. It's called Bear. It's right behind it's right behind I Love You Part 1. It's pretty good. I also like the one in the other scene where Wish Nikki said I love you. I think that one is also top 3, I ain't gonna lie. Bear is sitting there on the toilet waiting for his fate. He may have finally actually made the decision to do the right thing and to finally free the real Nikki, until he tries to spit it back out for his last little bit of cowardice, because this man cannot do nothing right. And as he's trying to throw up the pills, we hear music in the background playing while a snap of a twig happens, and that means that Nikki found the One Wish Willow and made a wish. She wished that Bear loved her as much as she loved him. And brother, they looking at each other like, oh yeah, you know what's about to happen. Look at them, just in love. They hold each other, grabbing each other by the head, they kiss, everything is all good. But them pills is bubbling up in that brother's stomach, and he falls down to his knees, overdosing. Wish Nikki is sad, she's crying, she doesn't understand what Bear did, and so she looks at the gun and she grabs it, because she couldn't bear without being the person she loved the most. See what I did there? She couldn't bear to be without the person she loved the most, because his name's Bear. Okay, my bad. Original Nikki comes back because now he's dead. So the wish has been reversed. And I feel so bad for real Nikki, because she has been trapped in the sunken place and has been watching all of this go down, and she finally comes back. And this is what she has to see. 3 of her friends dead in this house, and more than likely she is going to jail, because I don't even know how you would even get away with this. And so the movie ends with real Nikki crying, sad, and while we look at a TV. W movie, to be honest with you. Curry Barker, W director, everything you could ever want from someone that is trying to aspire to be a director. I really wanted to talk about this movie for a minute now, and I finally got the chance to, and I just wanted to show a little bit of appreciation towards the movie. Like I said in the beginning, I do hope that this movie inspires a lot of young directors and creators to hop on YouTube and start making their own stuff, because genuinely, this is stuff that I love to see. I love to see my peoples on YouTube go out there and be great. So yeah, hopefully I can get this Life is Strange video out, because part 1 will be here soon. That will be my next upload. So I'll see y'all when I see y'all.